Hello everybody, we are going to now continue the paraphrasing synonym quiz. This is quiz B. As you know, this quiz is related to the IELTS listening section because we get a lot of requests from students on how to really improve their score for the IELTS listening exam. And all of the questions on the listening exam are related to paraphrasing and synonym language. If you're dealing with a fill-the-blank question, it's related to recognizing the synonym language for the words that come before and after the blank line. If you're dealing with multiple choice questions, you're dealing with being able to hear the synonyms or paraphrasing of the question language, then hearing the answer, and finally finding the paraphrase or recognizing the paraphrase of the answer they gave. So this is a really, really important skill that you need to learn, and this quiz is designed around that. Now, I'm not going to really get into why paraphrase is important and how to really go about designing your own quizzes, because I did that in the previous lecture and I don't want to repeat myself. But I really encourage you to really create your own quizzes, create your own templates to use, because this is how you get better. All right, let's go ahead and get started with Paraphrasing Synonym Quiz B. All right, so really quickly on the instructions, you want to have paper and pencil in front of you because you need to create a two-sided table. And on one side, you're going to put the question words or the question keywords, and on the right side, you're going to put the paraphrasing or synonym of those question keywords. Now, you're going to see the question keywords on the question keywords on the screen. However, you don't have to write them down on the left side of your table if you don't want to. All right? Maybe you just want to write down the synonyms and paraphrasing that you hear, and that's perfectly fine. However, you do need paper, so make sure you get some. The questions and answers are going to go in order. Just like on the listening exam, you're going to hear the synonym or paraphrasing language for question number 1 first, then number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Keep in mind, we're not answering questions. That's not the goal of this exercise. We're working on our ability to recognize when we hear synonyms, to recognize when we hear paraphrasing. That's what we're working on, everybody. Finally, it's okay to stop and start the audio if you want to, because you may hear a paraphrase of the key word or keywords, and you need time to write that down on the right side of your template. And so it's okay in this instance to stop and start. On the real exam you can't do that, but we're working on a skill. So let's go ahead and get started with our next quiz, which is quiz number 4. The purpose of this quiz is to test your ability to recognize synonym language and paraphrasing. We are not answering the questions. Your only job is to hear and write down the synonym paraphrase of the question keywords. So with this one, the words in yellow are the keywords that you want to listen for. The words in yellow are actually related to the correct answer choices. So you're trying to hear the synonym language the person used that's related to those correct answer choices. So for example, when he talks about finding a location, you already know the answer is good weather. You're listening for and you want to write down what words does he say that's related to good weather. What words, when he talks about deciding on equipment, what words does he say that's related to working on a previous assignment? The goal of these quizzes here is to help you with recognizing, paraphrasing, and synonym language, because that's how you have to hear answer choices. That's how you have to hear language that points to answer choices. Now, this quiz here uses the question design where you have words in a box. So in a box, you have words like good weather, work on previous assignment, manager, manager supports, being allowed extra time. You have all those words and others in the box. And then below that, you'll have like finding location, writing the script, deciding on equipment, casting, filming. And so your job, if you're doing this on the exam, okay, I'm talking about on the exam, not this exercise, is you would have to hear them say finding a location and then hear the language that's related to the correct answer choice being good weather. For us, our only job is hear the paraphrase or synonym for the language in yellow and then make sure we write it on the right side of our table. Okay, let's get started.
Right, Stuart. Well, I've read your draft report on your work placement at the Central Museum Association. Sounds as if you had an interesting time. So you ended up making a film for them?
Yeah, it was a film to train the employees in different museums in the techniques they should use for labelling ancient objects without damaging them. Some of them are really fragile.
Okay. So in your report, you go through the main stages in making the film. Let's discuss that in a little more detail. You had to find a location, somewhere to shoot the film.
That took quite a few days because I had to look at different museums all over the country, but I'd allowed time for it. And even though it was the middle of winter, there wasn't any snow, so I didn't have any transport problems.
Right. Did you have to decide what equipment you'd need for the filming?
Yes, I think they were quite surprised at how well I managed that. It was just the luck of the draw, actually. I'd done that project with you last year.
Oh, on recording technology? So you knew a bit about it from that, right?
Yeah. What I found really hard was actually writing the script. I had a deadline for that, but the association had to extend it. I couldn't have done it otherwise.
Would it have helped if you'd had some training there?
I think you're right. I probably needed that, yeah.
Right. Now, from your draft report, it sounds as if you had one or two problems deciding who was going to actually appear in the video.
The casting, yeah. I'd expected that the people who worked for the association would be really keen on taking part.
But they weren't?
The thing was, they were all so busy. And it did mean some of them had to travel. But Janice King, who I was reporting to for the project, she was great. She arranged for people to have time off and for their work to be covered, so that was a big help for me.
Right. And it sounds like the filming itself went well. I gather you found a company who provided an online introduction to the techniques.
Yeah, it was really informative and very user-friendly. I learned a lot from it.
And then the editing?
For that, the association put me in touch with someone who works for one of the big movie companies, and I went down to the studio and sat with him in front of his computer for a day, learning how to cut and paste and deal with the soundtrack and so on.
So was that all?
No, I didn't include this in my draft report, but I had to design the cover for the DVD as well, the lettering and everything.
Have you done any of that sort of design work before?
No, but I did a rough draft and then talked it through with a couple of my mates, and they gave me some more ideas. And when I'd finished it, I showed it to the people who worked at the association, and they really liked it.
Excellent.
Okay, let's take a look at the answer choices. So for good weather, the audio similar words were middle of the winter, it wasn't snow. That's a paraphrasing for good weather. Number 2, work on a previous assignment. He said he had done that project last year. That is the paraphrase. Number 3, being allowed extra time. The association had extended it, had to extend it. That the pronoun it refers to the deadline. Number 4 and 5 were related to when they had a discussion about casting. The word manager, the paraphrase is who reporting to. And for support, he said she was great. Number 6, information on a website. The audio similar words are found company to provide online introduction. Number 7, meet a professional filmmaker. Went down to the studio and sat with him. Sat, that should be S-A-T. Sat with him. Number 8, advice from friends. And the audio similar words were talked it through with my mates. So you can see that you have to be able to hear paraphrasing and synonym language, because all of this paraphrasing and synonym language is what related to all of the correct answer choices. So if you're not able to recognize this, it's a problem. And this is what happens, what makes it more difficult, this is what happens when you get into sections 3 and 4, is that the paraphrases are longer, right? The paraphrases are longer, the questions are longer. And so you have to be able to recognize paraphrasing very quickly. And it's a skill, everybody. Nobody's born. Nobody comes out of their mother knowing how to paraphrase. It's a skill. So if you keep practicing it, you'll get better. And that's why we have these quizzes for you. Okay, let's go on to quiz number 5. The purpose of this quiz is to test your ability to recognize synonym language and paraphrasing. Again, we're not answering the question, so please don't send messages, where are the questions? That's not what this is about. We have so many lectures that deal with, or that really provide you the opportunity to answer questions. This is about paraphrasing and synonyms and recognizing it. So let's stay focused on the goal of these quizzes. Your only job is to hear and write down the synonym or paraphrase of the keywords. Let's do quiz number 5. So for this one, the question keywords you're going to hear are went to, become, well, these are not that you're going to hear, these are the question keywords. You're listening for a paraphrase to went to, become a worker, found it easy to reach, relies on, getting enough to send regularly, totally transformed, couldn't meet overhead. Number 8, hoping to buy. Number 9, donate. You're listening for a synonym or paraphrase of the word donate. Number 10, hold an event. Number 11, raise money. And number 12, identify areas that. So these are the question key words. Your job is to listen for the paraphrase or the synonym language that they use, that they give, that relates to those question key words. Write it down on the right side of your table. If you need to stop the lecture to write, that's perfectly fine in this instance. Okay, let's go ahead and play the audio.
My name's Dan Pearman, and I'd like to talk about the work of Pedal Power, a small charity based mainly in the UK. I'll be giving our contact details at the end, if anyone would like to find out more about how to support us. But first, how the charity began. I got the idea of exporting bicycles to developing countries while I was in Ecuador. I went there in 1993, just after graduating from university. After 3 years of studying, I wanted adventure. I loved travelling, so I decided to join a voluntary organisation and was sent to Ecuador to carry out land surveys. The project came to an end after 5 years, and when I returned to the UK in 1998, I started planning Pedal Power. Where I lived in Ecuador was a very rural area. My neighbour had the only bicycle in the village, whereas everyone else walked everywhere. My neighbour's business was unusually successful, and for years I couldn't understand why. Then I realised having a bike meant he could get where he wanted to go without much trouble. Other local carpenters could only accept jobs in a 3-kilometre radius, so no matter how skilled they were, they could never do as many jobs as my neighbour. At Pedal Power, we collect second-hand bikes in the UK and send them to some of the poorest regions in the world. When we distribute bikes overseas, we don't give them away for free. We'd like to, but long-term that doesn't really help the local economy. The demand for bikes is enormous, which makes them very expensive locally. So we sell them for 5% of the normal price. But in order to continue operating, we need to have a constant supply of bikes which we send out every 6 months. One example of a town that's received bicycles from Pedal Power is Rivas. It was the first place I sent a full container of bicycles to. Most people there now own a bicycle. The local economy has developed so much you wouldn't recognize it as the same place. In fact, there are more bikes than on the streets of Amsterdam, if you've ever been there. But Pedal Power still needs your help. You may have read about some of our recent problems in the British media. In August 2000, we simply ran out of money. We had containers of bikes ready to send, but no money to pay the bills. It was a terrible situation. We managed to ensure the bikes went out on time, but the other problems carried on for several months. Fortunately, in October 2001, we won an Enterprise Award, which helped us enormously. We invested 15 of the £75,000 prize money to help secure our future. Winning the award helped raise our profile, and the money enabled us to pay all our shipping costs, which represent our greatest expense. Pedal Power changes lives. When someone gets a bicycle from us, they see a 14% increase in their income. We're currently looking to invest in computers so that our office staff can do an even better job. Because of our work, people in a number of countries now have a better standard of living. So far, we've provided 46,000 people with bikes. But we'd like to send more, at least 50,000 by the end of the year. Now, there are many ways in which you can support the work of Pedal Power, not just by taking a bike to a collection in your area. I should also like to say, if you do have a bike to donate, it doesn't matter what condition it's in. If we can't repair it, we'll strip it down for spare parts. Of course, to do that we always need tools, which are expensive to buy, so we welcome any that you can give. Also, you could help by contacting the voluntary staff at our offices. They'll be able to suggest activities you could organise to bring in funds for us. People do all kinds of things, including, of course, sponsored bike rides. Also, we're always interested to hear of other places that would benefit from receiving a consignment of bikes, and welcome suggestions from people who've been to developing regions on their travels. We hope that by talking on radio programmes like this, we will be able to raise public awareness, which will lead to government organisations also giving us regular financial support, something that we really need. If you'd like some more information about where to donate an old bicycle or offer help in other ways, please contact us on 019.
Okay, let's take a look at the answer choices. All right, so for number one, when he said, while I was in, that is the audio similar language for went to. He also said went there. You could have put that down. Become a worker, join an organization, found it easy to reach, get where you want to go without much trouble. That's the audio similar language, the paraphrasing. Rely on, need to have, getting enough to send regularly, constant supply every 6 months, totally transformed, developed so much, not recognized as the same place, couldn't meet overhead. The paraphrasing is no money to pay the bills, hoping to buy, invest in, donate, paraphrase, synonym, give, hold an event. The audio similar words were organize activities, sponsor a bike ride, raise money, bring in funds. There might have been something else he said related to bringing in funds, and then identify areas that, hear of other places that. Numbers 11 and 12 might be reversed, possibly. But for number 11, raising money was bringing funds. And number 12 is identify areas that, and the paraphrasing is hear of other places that. So those are the audio similar words to the question keywords. And I hope that was very, very helpful for you. You can take a short break if you need to. And then we're going to move on to quiz C, which is the last paraphrasing quiz that we're going to do.